This episode of Higher Learning is brought to you by MGM Plus. If you love high stakes drama, Godfather of Harlem delivers.
I can't wait to see it. I know it has Academy Award winner Forrest Whitaker. He returns as Bumpy Johnson, facing his deadliest battles yet for Harlem's future. When ruthless newcomer Frank Lucas arrives, everything changes.
As power shifts and new threats emerge, will Bumpy forge an uneasy alliance with his enemies, or will he stand tall as the undisputed Godfather of Harlem?
Well, you can find out in the new season of Godfather of Harlem, new episodes streaming Sundays on MGM Plus.
Yo, Thought Warriors. What is up? Higher Learning is on. It's I, Man, Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel and Lindsay.
Rachel.
Yes.
Do you remember the first time you heard the song Who Let the Dogs Out?
What year did that come out in?
I can't remember. Donnie, What year did Who Let the Dogs Out come out?
I think 98. Let me see.
Hey,
to answer your question, no. But I definitely remember...
2000.
I was going to say I remember being around white people.
It was around white people, yeah.
High school, First Baptist Academy, sounds about right.
So I heard the song yesterday. I had to fly back Alaska Airlines from out of Newark. Not the best. And, you know, I'm used to a different type of airline at this point, a different type of airline experience. I get settled in. I have a whole ritual.
Take us through it.
I get settled in, take my shoes off, put them on the thing.
Not everybody has a lie flat, by the way. Not every plane, not saying everybody, not every plane has a lie flat.
Not every plane has a lie flat.
So sometimes you don't get to do that.
Not every plane has a lie flat. But if I'm going from LA to New York, at this point, I'm pretty much expecting the lie flat. If I'm going from LA to New York, if I'm flying somewhere else, it's fine. But if I'm going from LA to New York, I would be expecting the lie flat situation. Okay. So, you know, I take the shoes off, put them there, whole nine, boom, boom, boom. Then the plane gets up. I get a glass of champagne.
Oh, you do? You treat yourself.
Well, I don't treat myself. They're bringing the champagne.
Right, but you don't have, you can have orange juice, you can have water, but okay,
no,
you like to treat yourself.
You want to relax.
Okay.
Right? You want to relax. And so they bring the champagne. Then, you know, I get on the Wi-Fi at this point to make sure that I can have stuff playing in my ears while I go to sleep. I switch from the AirPods, the smaller AirPods to my AirPod Maxes so I can cancel out the noise.
Yes, we got
all
you.
of that stuff. And then we get up to, actually, I don't even wait. As soon as the plane takes off and it's in the air good, I'll go ahead and hit the lie flat thing. We're going to sleep.
Wow. A rebel in our midst.
But Alaska didn't have that. Okay? They didn't have lie flat. They didn't have it. There were no screens, no nothing. They're like, you're going from Newark to LA and you're going to have to tough it out. All right? But they were playing, for some reason, Who Let the Dogs Out. And it was triggering.
Why was it triggering?
Everybody on Alaska was very nice. We got in an hour early.
Why was it triggering?
Because Ryan Davenport and me went to the Varsity Theater, which is right outside the campus of LSU, basically on the campus of LSU. This must have been shortly after Who Let the Dogs Out was released, but it was to the point that the song was a major deal. I never heard this song.
Okay.
I didn't know what Who Let the Dogs Out was. When the song was played at the Varsity Theater, which me and Ryan, we went to the Varsity a couple of times just to switch it up.
Okay.
Party with the LSU kids, just to switch it up. When it was played at first, I didn't understand why a song like that would be played in a club. Because when the song comes on, it's very happy and whimsical. Like the type of song that plays throughout the credits of a Disney movie. The party was up, the party was jumping, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I can only think of the chorus. I didn't even know that's how the verse
That's
goes.
how the song starts. And it's like, what the fuck are they playing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No song like that would be played at Club Upscale, at Nightlife,
For sure.
at any of TJ's Perfect 10 Kappa events. Well, they weren't Kappa events. So TJ, Mike, shout out to TJ and Mike, and then another guy. I'm not sure who this other guy was. Maybe it was Jeremy. They were all 10s on their lines.
Oh.
And so they had
Nice.
a party that they formed Perfect 10 Productions.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Kappa and an Alpha and a Q that were all throwing the parties, which was like the United Nations of
Great
partying.
idea. Great idea.
That nigga TJ is a genius. Mike McLaughlin is a genius. I'm pretty sure it was Jeremy was the other guy. But anyway, Mike and Jeremy ended up leaving, and TJ still has Perfect 10 Productions to this day. Shout out to TJ. But it wasn't like that, because you go in that bitch, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be, girl, give me that. You know, that song wasn't out yet, but it would be there. It would be like, you know, you get, shake it fast. Why yourself? That's the type of shit that was going to be playing in there, you know? You're in that bitch.
I didn't go to those kind of parties.
Let me see you being over, let me see you. Shout out Bun B. You know, that's what it was going to get in there. So when Who Let the Dogs came, when it came on, I didn't know what was happening. I really didn't.
Okay.
I'm serious. I'm like, what the fuck is this cartoon ass shit that they playing?
It does
in this
sound
bitch?
cartoony.
Then something happened, and I legitimately got scared when this happened. The chorus came in.
And what happened?
That whole fucking club started going, who? And then it's a whole club full of white people, and they looking at each other and at me and Ryan and going, who? And I legitimately did not know what was going on, because this record, I had never heard this record before. By the way, this is still the only time I've ever heard Who Let the Dogs Out at some sort of function.
Okay.
This is the only time I've ever heard it there. But they are going crazy.
Yeah.
And when you are in a club full of white people and Who Let the Dogs Out plays, the personalities of those various white people come out of them. Some people have a very happy who. Who? Some people have a very drunk who. Who? You know? But then there's an aggressive who.
There's an aggressive who. You're correct.
There's an aggressive who full of like
You're correct.
Aggressive white guys that they're using Who Let the Dogs Out to pump them up.
Correct. They're jumping up and down. Their hands are in the air. It is definitely their hype song.
They get hyped off Who Let the Dogs Out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like, it was a couple of white boys in there that were seemingly pointing at me.
I don't know about that. I never experienced that part. I believe you.
They were seemingly pointing at me and going, who? And I'm like, and me and Ryan are looking at each other. Ryan is high. Me and Ryan are looking at like, what the fuck is going on? And the whole thing was going crazy, and the varsity was going crazy. And as that was playing, as I was getting on the plane, it took me out of my mode. It took me out of my relaxation mode as I'm getting into this shit. Like I sat down, then a lady came to sat next to me. I promise you, she had a dog. Her dog was on the plane with her.
Okay.
And at first I'm like, yo, what the fuck is happening? Is something about to happen bad? You know, it was like, it made me feel eerie. You know what I mean? And then when they came back, they offered coffee, but I didn't want any coffee because I didn't want to be up. I was trying to sleep.
Sure.
But the dog ended up being so nice. It was very nice to fly with a dog.
It's great, right?
It was very nice to fly with a dog.
I love flying with my dogs.
Ended up being very nice, and she was a cool little pup. And she was kind of looking at me like, I didn't ask him to make that song about me. You know? But then I was able to sleep. I was able to sleep for about 3.5 hours. Of the what ended up being a 4-hour flight, because we got in an hour early. So shout out to Alaska Airlines.
Yeah, you shit on them and then.
Well, it's not It's not my favorite.
Why did you fly out of Newark? What happened?
I think that
CNN messed up the booking?
I think that shout out to CNN, who I love. Well, I'm in a groove with CNN right now. But I think that there's a lot of stuff going on with flights.
Well, there was actually some reports about
I
Newark.
tried to get them to switch it at the end.
You saw that?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
trying. I hit them up. I was like, "Could you please switch this?" But I needed to get back. I don't like to get back later on a Sunday. I like to get back earlier.
Yeah, we did miss you on Sunday. Shout out to Tracy Thomas. Shout out to the Stacks podcast. Tracy had this beautiful idea 3 months ago that she really wanted to help out in the way that she felt she could the communities that had been impacted by the LA fires. And, her point was a lot of us move on when it comes to a tragedy unless we're directly impacted. And the people who have been impacted by the LA fires haven't moved on or can't move on in the ways that we have. And so she created a book pop-up fair for the communities that have been impacted. Pasadena, Altadena, not Pasadena, I'm sorry, Pacific Palisades, Altadena, and 1,000 families RSVP'd, 1,000 people RSVP'd. And it was beautiful. It was a sweet escape for people who I did not know, but I was working the attendee desk as they came up. They were saying that they thought their worst days were behind them, but then yesterday, a lot of homes were bulldozed yesterday. And they were happy that this provided an escape. There was arts and crafts for kids. There were lawn games. There was a book barn where you could get up to 20 different books, all different genres. There were book readings for kids. There was free food, drinks, music. You could talk to other people in the community, meet new people. There were author signings. You're supposed to be there.
I wasn't there.
That
Shout out to everybody.
well, you were supposed to be there.
I had to.
We were expecting you.
I was at CNN.
You didn't tell anybody you weren't coming.
Oh, is that true?
That is 100% true.
I apologize.
So I sat by myself because you were supposed to sit with me at the author
We were supposed to do it together?
Well, no, I mean, I was signing books. We had the same time slot.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay.
Shout out to
Emily who sat next to me.
Actually, I do remember. I think I remember this now. But everything gets stacked up to stack.
You need an assistant.
Everything gets stacked up together.
You really need an assistant. It's not like I understand. Like I need one, and I don't even have as much on my plate as you do. You really need an assistant because it's impossible for you to juggle all the things. Like shout out to you. You're wanted. A lot of people, you're pulled in a lot of different directions, but you need an assistant. Anyways, it was great. And shout out to Tracy for what she did. So many people were so grateful and just really provided like some relief for people. You think about obviously people losing their home, people losing pictures, but they also lose books. I heard stories of people saying, one woman said, I'm an artist and I had all these art books and of different artists that she liked or different types of art and like all that stuff is gone. Yeah. So, it's just little things like that. So it was really great to be there and do what little I can, to volunteer and,
Tracy's a go-getter.
Tracy's amazing.
How does she get the energy?
I don't know.
She got kids.
You know what? I say shout out to theater kids because they have a different set of different energy.
They do. I mean, they do have a lot of energy and sometimes it goes bad. I told you the story about when
love theater kids.
When Robbie got beat up at the Quick Sack.
Stop it. Let's move on.
Donnie, quick hitters.
President Trump is considering an executive order limiting NIL in college sports after he met with Nick Saban. Coach reportedly complained about named image and likeness to Trump while he was in Tuscaloosa to give a commencement speech. It looks like Trump said that he agreed with Saban and he's going to look at drafting an executive order, and he's directed aides to begin studying what an order would say and how he could even do this.
This is a very layered issue. An executive order cannot address all the issues that would be involved in NIL. I am concerned about NIL's effect on college sports only because, so let me explain this. There are two things that are ramming against each other when I look at this. I'm a traditionalist on very few things, but college football is one of them. I'll be honest. College football is something that the tradition and the way that the sport is operated is part of the allure of the sport. Tradition is a big deal when it comes to college football. However, there's been incredible exploitation of the young athlete, particularly the young black athlete, in the history of college sports, period, right? As it's become a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and the athletes who a lot of them, particularly in Louisiana, come from, underserved and impoverished areas. You can't really be who I am and fix your mouth to be against labor when it comes to them getting a piece of the pie in college football. There is a different side to NIL, and I'll give you an example. I won't name the player's name, but I'll just give you an example. There was a player that wanted to come to LSU some time ago. He was a safety out of Ponchatoula. Okay. Now, for all intents and purposes, this kid wanted to go to LSU. A lot of his friends went to LSU. There's a 7-on-7 team called the Bootleggers. He was a member of that team. Okay. Um, I think he was from Ponchatoula. Anyway, it was a great 4-star safety. He does not go to LSU. He goes to Texas A&M. He goes to Texas A&M. Texas A&M had a ridiculous recruiting class. At that time, it was, according to the actual recruiting metrics, the greatest recruiting class of all time. They spent a shit ton of money, and they brought in all of these guys. Most of those players end up transferring out. Very few of them were able to stay with Texas A&M because there's so many variables that go into keeping a college player happy and fulfilled for the long term. You know this, right?
Sure.
Right. That kid ends up playing for Texas A&M for like 1 year, maybe 2 years, wants to transfer out in the spring or something, whatever. It doesn't go right. Now he's not playing football. He's not playing football at all. There was a situation to where he wanted to come to LSU. It was probably in his best interest to come to LSU and be in a place that was a little bit closer to home, to where his family and his friends would have been there. But because he has to make decisions for his family, he has to go play at Texas A&M. Now, when you have played 4 years of college ball, or you have played 5 years of college ball, or sometimes at this point now 10 years of college ball, and you have agent, manager, all of this stuff, you have the infrastructure to make decisions about your family and for your family, it's a much easier thing to do after that time, right? But we are getting into a situation with NIL where we're asking a lot of young kids, 16-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids that are not going to get the life-changing money that you would get if you would go into the NBA, right? If you're talking about a guy that's going straight from high school to the NBA, that's still a hell of a decision to make, but you're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars at this time. It's not always millions and millions of dollars when you're talking about kids and NIL. A lot of times it might be $1 million. A lot of times it might be $500,000. A lot of times it might be $400,000, which is a lot of money in Louisiana. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the type of one decision getting paid for the rest of your life money. And it's, if there's no infrastructure to help these kids make the right decision, or if there's no backup plan, or if we don't care about them, if we're treating 17, 16, 18-year-old kids the same way we treat 22, 23-year-old men, I think in the long run, you're going to have a lot of stories like the one I just laid out. People who have to make decisions for their families, but might be putting themselves in a worse decision long term, right? Going somewhere where they don't have the same type of support system. And also, when you buy an athlete, it is a lot different than what it would be when you've actually formed a real bond with a kid and with the family to get them to come to your school.
Yeah.
So we're professionalizing people, and look, that's the way that they want it, and they're entitled to something. But we have to think about a way to protect them at the same time.
Well, I mean, I think to your point, you're right. But what happens is when you take the amateur nature out of college sports and they do become professionals, then you take away the protection. I think that naturally comes with it. They're treated like professionals, as professionals are treated pretty much in any type of industry that they're in, not just college sports. So now you have people taking advantage of them in a completely new way. I'm not saying it didn't happen before.
It certainly happened
I
before.
totally believe in NIL. I totally believe that they should be getting, I don't believe that they should be able to, make money off their name, image, and likeness and then not get a portion of it. But the problem is, and we talked about this before on this podcast, they did it without any type of regulation. I think collectives are a problem. I don't think that they're regulated the way that they should be. I think that even the way it opens up the door for them to being contacted even at a younger age. I think it makes them have to face tough decisions as to how they're going to your point, provide for their family at an earlier age or have access to certain things. And then it becomes about the money. To prove your point, your first point, it becomes about the money more than it becomes about the game or the tradition. And I think some of that
or
is
the development of the actual young man.
And I think, which is the whole point of being called a student athlete. There's value in that. There's pride in that. But the amateur nature of it is gone. Like this is the kind of stuff that we studied in when I went to Marquette. I was a sports law major, or that's what my focus was. And there was an amateur sports class and there was a professional sports class. It has to be totally different now. It'd be so interesting to be a law student for several reasons right now. But to the point of the story, I don't think it's wrong that they're looking at the issue of NIL, but Trump is the wrong person to be getting involved in it. I don't think he has a clue of what some of the intricacies are when it comes to the NCAA, college sports, and NIL, but I don't think it is the issue. Looking at the issue is wrong.
I just think you need some structure there.
For sure, need some structure.
To make sure, as far as it being an equal playing field, I don't know if I care that much about whether or not Mississippi State has the opportunity to have a robust, and shout out to Brandon Walker.
But do you care that, the collectives which aren't supposed to be affiliated with the schools, but every school has a collective that's affiliated to it. Do you care that collective is a part of the negotiation process to basically create a bidding war for top athletes? Because if you care about in some way of tradition, right? We don't want the tradition as it was, but if you care about some of what the nature is of college sports, you have to care that there is an advantage to like a Texas who could, or even an LSU who has an alumni who could negotiate bigger at the table than a Mississippi State can. Yeah. That changes the game.
That advantage has always existed to some degree.
Under the table.
Well, under the table and in other ways. So I would say that the main thing that LSU, let's do LSU versus Texas, right? The main thing that LSU had going for it in terms of recruiting was their tradition, but also the capture that LSU has in the state. We are the only big major university in the state.
Mm-hmm.
There's a University of Louisiana system, but there's not another school that can compete with LSU in terms of its hold over the state. So you grow up watching big-time college football in Louisiana, you dream of going to LSU. Texas is not the same thing. There's A&M. A&M is a big fucking, A&M is a big operation, right? A&M is a big operation. There's A&M, there's other schools there. And then you go to places like Florida, there's Florida State, there's Miami. Different places have, the landscape looks different. Okay. However, in order to use your advantage in those situations, Texas has to rely on its donor base to continuously upgrade its facilities,
mm-hmm.
to continuously upgrade its coach. The money went to other places in terms of the arms race for the kids. LSU has a $28 million locker room. $28 million locker room. Southern University, the HBCU in North Baton Rouge, has a $9 million endowment, right? So that school is operating on $9 million. The locker room in South Baton Rouge is $28 million. So that money was going other places, just wasn't going to the athletes. I don't have any problem with it going to the athletes. I do like the traditionalist nature of college football insofar as a kid is going to the school that they dreamed about playing for when they were a kid, where their mama wants them to go, where their uncles want them to go, where they can be a legend forever. At the same time, what I care about more than anything is the fact that you're not making 16 and 17-year-olds make generational decisions for their entire families without some type of structure to ensure that those decisions have some sort of fallback plan. And the more that the capitalism gets involved in it, the less anybody will care about that. Because they'll say, you know what? You took $500,000 to come play here. We don't give a fuck what's going on with you. Get on the football field. And that's something that you could easily do to somebody that's 24 or 25. That's cool. But when you're talking about somebody that's 18, 19, it's just a different calculus. And it's going to lead to some bad outcomes, and we have to consider that too. That was more than a quick
That
hitter.
was not a quick hitter.
It's fine,
I knew it wouldn't be. I knew it wouldn't be.
Donnie?
All right, let's see how quick this one is. An FBI agent testified in court last week that Lynn Price, former owner of Turkey Leg Hut in Houston, allegedly paid a group of men $1,400 to set fire to a bar that was owned by his business partner, Steve Rogers. Now, two other men, John Lee Price and Armani Williams, were also arrested. Lee Price, who's not related to Lynn Price, admitted to his role in the fire, and he identified Lynn Price as the person who organized the arson. John Lee Price also told FBI agents, though, that Lynn Price was using the Turkey Leg Hut to store hundreds of pounds of weed. The marijuana would be sold at the restaurant in packaging that bared the business's name. Lee Price said that he had worked with Lynn Price, and part of his job was to move the weed from California to Houston. I do want to clarify before I let y'all take it away. The FBI did add that the investigators haven't found any evidence that Lynn Price was directly involved in hand-to-hand weed sales at the place. And he's also not currently charged with any drug crimes.
I've never heard of more stories surrounding a restaurant than I have with this. I don't know if Lynn Price is stupid or what, but he's definitely, like, the Turkey Leg Hut was huge in Houston. You didn't even have to be from Houston, live there, whatever it is, to know about this. Long lines, everybody wanted to be there. It was a vibe. You created something great. And the way that the legacy now of the Turkey Leg Hut and its owners, from their personal lives to now FBI agents involved, to allegedly paying a group of men $1,400 to, set fire to the competition is what it was. Was it 50-50? What was, I don't know. Whatever the bar was, I've been there before too, which was great. What else was it? The dress code. There was a dress code issue.
That's how the Turkey Leg Hut. That's how Turkey Leg Hut got on my radar. Look, I want to make fun of the Turkey Leg Hut here, but I don't want to do it too much because I need the life rights. Because I want to do this for Netflix. I want our company to do this for Netflix because the Turkey Leg Hut has reached the peak of niggerishness in a way that can't be described. I haven't seen anything.
He's going to charge you a stupid amount.
I haven't seen anything that has even approached the level of niggerishness that the Turkey Leg Hut has been able to approach. Think about all of the different mutated cultural opinions of niggerhood that the Turkey Leg Hut has involved itself in. Okay. The Turkey Leg Hut has been involved in the argument about niggerish decency when you're talking about whether or not you can twerk, a niggerish dress code, about whether or not you can wear leggings to a place, niggerish drug dealing when you're talking about having a front business.
Alleged.
And also niggerish crabs in a barrel syndrome when you're talking about the proprietor of the Turkey Leg Hut plotting to burn down the competition. This restaurant and its proprietor are not on the cutting edge of niggerishness. They're on the bleeding edge of niggerishness. We're talking about, like, I'm serious. It
I know you
doesn't
are.
get more fucked up than all of the stories surrounding the turkey leg hut. $1,400 to set fire. I keep trying to tell y'all. $1,400. I keep trying to tell y'all don't know what's going on in actual America. People talk to me all the time about, yo, man, this is the. I can get you fucking killed in Baton Rouge for $800.
Okay.
I can.
I know,
I
but
can get you fucking killed in Baton Rouge, $800.
okay.
$800 easy. $1,500, I can get somebody good at it to do it. $1,400 to set fire for an arson charge.
Mind you, it was a group of men. So not one person.
So they had to bust it up.
They split that. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
A group of men were paid $1,400.
Wait, when they paid $1,400 in, was it, Donnie, was it $1,400 a piece?
It says
It's for the
paid.
group, I believe. Yeah, it doesn't say each.
God damn.
That's the total.
You know what they made it up in? They paid them the $1,400. You know what the other part that they paid them was?
What?
Turkey legs.
Allegedly.
They paid them $1,400 and fall off the bone turkey legs to go set somebody business. We gotta help each other, bruh. Wait a minute.
But that's what's crazy. Like,
we gotta help each other.
We do. But if these people needed help, he could have helped them through legitimately through his business.
We can't. If you are talking to your homeboy and your homeboy says, yo, I'm about to hit a lick, you're like, what's the lick? Because we've all had this hit a lick conversation with our homeboys. It's, yo, man, the dude from the turkey leg hut say, he gonna pay me $300 allegedly to go burn down this bar. You gotta talk to your homeboy. You gotta say, $300, bruh. I can't let you go burn down the bar.
Do you know how close the two were together?
The bars? How close were they?
0.1 mile.
Turkey leg madness. What the fuck is going on in Houston? What's going on in Houston? My friend Antoinette down there in Houston hates the turkey leg hut people. I wonder if this is why. Like, what's going on in Houston?
I mean, the owner doesn't, especially the man, does not have a great reputation, but, you know.
All right. Let's get into Legal Eagle. Rachel, you got to take over. This is your segment.
Do I need to take over? Donnie, go ahead.
All right. Jury selections are starting right now, Monday, but so yesterday for listeners. In the sex trafficking trial of Sean Combs, he put in his plea of not guilty. He told the court that he rejected a plea deal that has been offered by prosecutors. And his defense lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, offered a preview of his defense, arguing that Combs was engaged in a swinger lifestyle and that the sexual behavior was consensual or even common. Thoughts on this trial getting started?
I can't believe we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, last month they added charges, and Diddy's defense team tried to get the trial pushed back a couple of months, and the judge was like, no. I was really thinking about this since jury selection has started. It's got to be damn near impossible. Obviously a jury is supposed to be, it's not supposed to not be biased, but how can you go into listening to the evidence and not have already formed some sort of opinion about Diddy, about Diddy's lifestyle? Like, this has been blasted everywhere. So at this point, you knew who he was before. You know the allegations against him now. You just know too much. You've been privy to so much. Sequestering a jury is not going to matter because so much has happened before. And I say this in good and bad. You're going to have people who could possibly be on the jury that are fans who don't want to see this happen to Diddy. I think this is just so hard, and he can't do, a trial by judge because the judge has ruled against him in so many different ways that he's going to take his chance. I mean, he could, but he's going to take his chance at a jury.
Can Diddy get a fair trial?
I mean, it's hard for me to say. I have no idea. I mean, we're not privy to the jury selection, but I mean, if I could see his defense team, once they pick the jury, still trying to use somebody who was put on the jury as a reason as to why they should have a mistrial or as to why he doesn't get a fair trial. But they've got their work cut out for them. I also think the jury's going to come in and expect to hear certain evidence. And I think that if they don't see that or hear that, that could also taint their decision.
In
right?
terms of what?
Like, if I'm on the jury, I might be expecting to see sex tapes. I might be, some of the things that have been alleged or that celebrities are on this. I might be expecting to see celebrities. I might be expecting to see stuff that involves minors. If you don't see that kind of stuff and you've heard so much talk about it and then you don't see it, you might say, well, then like, were these consenting adults? I'm not saying that that's the truth. I'm just saying there's just been so much that has been told that's out there that if the evidence doesn't match that, does that mess with the juror's mind? You just don't know when you put something in the hands of the jury. You know what is expected of the jury, but will that juror actually, practice that?
What you're essentially saying is that the debauchery that's been described in this case has reached this sort of cultural boiling point.
For sure.
And if the prosecution presents something that doesn't meet that, then
expectation.
then people might be going, it's not that bad. It's not what I expected. I expected to see this person here and this person. I expected to see how Diddy took advantage of this young male or female celebrity. I expected to see how Diddy ruined this life and ruined that life and did this. And if they don't get all of that stuff because he's been painted, by the way, all the allegations that have come out make it seem like he's this sort of hip-hop Voldemort. If people don't see that, then they might take it easy on him.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that he might not be found guilty, but maybe it means a lesser sentence.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know he could be facing up to life. And so maybe
like 30 years or something.
Maybe that affects what the sentencing could be if he is found guilty. Maybe it affects it being some sort of mistrial. Like they can't come to a decision because people are split. You just don't know. I think I think the favor, it's in favor of the prosecution because so much has been out there. There've been inconsistencies in Diddy's story. Everybody saw the Cassie video at this point. Yeah. And she's not on trial, but her situation is not on trial, but there are other victims that are going to be testifying as well. So are they going to expect to hear something for sure? I don't know. But the burden's on the prosecution. There is advantages and disadvantages.
I've seen conflicting reports about whether or not Cassie is going to be called to testify in this.
Yeah, she might, but not, I think, on there is not a charge for what we saw in the video. Let me put it that way.
Right, but she would be somebody who, let's face it, she was one of the first sources that we heard that detailed what Diddy's lifestyle was like. Mm-hmm. And she talked about the fact that even her involvement in these things, she didn't feel like it was always consensual, that there were drugs being provided, that she felt like she had to do this because it's important that we say to people, Diddy's lawyers are going to say that Diddy was a part of a swinger lifestyle that involves sexual debauchery and what some people would consider the debauchery, or that this was about big time sex parties and everybody having sex with everyone and all of that. That stuff is not illegal. The stuff that would be illegal would be whether or not there were people working at these parties that were coerced into doing it, or that were doing it under the influence of specific drugs. If there were people that were flown all over the world for the purposes of doing this and were coerced in doing it or paid to do it. If Diddy ran a criminal enterprise and organization that existed to clean this up or to hide evidence or to suppress evidence or to put people in certain places because of that, right? If all of this stuff was a criminal sexual enterprise run by Diddy so that he could get his rocks off and also use that to have leverage, video, and evidence on other people. That is essentially what the government is alleging. If all of this stuff was consensual and everybody was just having a good time, there's no crime there. If the other thing is true, if Diddy was using this to blackmail people, if Diddy was forcing people to do things that they didn't want to do, if Diddy was supplying people with drugs, supplying them with drugs unwittingly, if there was GHB laced baby oil or drinks or situations like that, if that stuff is true, that is what the government is going to make their case on.
Yeah.
All right. So it's two completely different things, and they have to show and prove to the ends that they are trying to meet. Now I'll ask you this. There's a very clear legal standard that the prosecution has to meet here, which is they have to prove conspiracy, intent, and damage here, right? Now, what if they don't do that? What if Diddy goes to trial and beats this? How would you, El Rach, look at Diddy after he has gone to trial and been exonerated? Because the way this works in the court of public opinion right now is what people are actually looking for the government to do, a lot of people, is affirm Diddy's guilt.
Sure.
A lot of people have it made up in their mind that he did whatever he did because there have been so many accusations. There's been such consistency in the accusations. The Cassie video is key here because it was something that she alleged word for word in her complaint against him. They came out, they being Diddy's people, and said everything in the complaint is a lie. Right? Even after they settled, none of that stuff happened. And then when you see the video of things going exactly the way that she said that they went, you start to think, why would she lie about anything then? Because legitimately, she could have just basically sued him off that one incident alone. Maybe it's not worth $30 million. But if she had wanted to, she had said, I was brutalized by Diddy in this particular time and I want a civil settlement for it. And if I don't, if he doesn't agree to this, then the tape comes out, blah, blah, blah. So adding the other stuff in there, you would wonder why she would lie about that stuff and be truthful about the incident that happened between them. I digress. What I'm saying is, in this particular situation, because of that, a lot of people are like, the government needs to prove what we already think about Diddy. But what if they can't? If they can't prove it, then what happens?
Well, it's not if they can't prove it, right? Because the jury decides if they prove their case or not. So, I mean, that's up to a jury. 12 people may have said he did, may have said he didn't. I think, so I wouldn't use the word can't prove it. I think they believe they can, which is why the case is moving forward. It's up to a jury to decide, well, we don't really think you met the elements of the charges.
What I mean was, what does it mean for Diddy culturally if he were to beat the case?
Right. I think Diddy's done regardless.
I do too.
I don't think anybody wants to associate themselves with Diddy because even if a jury comes out and says, well, the prosecution didn't prove their case, what has been shown is that Diddy's not denying he didn't do some of these things. Not the criminal charges, but the swinger lifestyle or, having a toxic relationship with Cassie or, these sex parties. I think it's just so damning that why would somebody want to link themselves, their brand, their reputation to Diddy when they don't have to? I think Diddy will be able, if Diddy is found not guilty, he'll sit down with somebody, do some interview, do some podcast with maybe some.
He'll do many.
Well, maybe, or he'll do, and he'll hold on to that, right? Like the court found me, the justice system worked, justice was served, I was found not guilty, and he'll do the media runs, and people will talk to him, and he'll go to friendlier spaces, wherever those may exist. But at the end of the day, the business deals aren't going to be there. the the music deals aren't going to be there. It's just not the same. It's done. The court of public opinion has already ruled on Diddy.
Yeah.
And they've ruled on him, they've decided on him, and they moved on.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. You're right. Everything that you're saying is right. They have a prodigious task, Diddy's defense, in terms of being able to defend him at this particular point. And the prosecution, once again, I keep telling everybody, we're talking about the government. They normally don't move unless they got you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They normally don't move unless they got you. Another thing about this that'll be interesting, we'll move on, is the Trump administration. I keep saying this. I could see the Trump administration in some way getting involved here. If they could find a way, they're going to read the tea leaves and how this is playing culturally. They're going to read the tea leaves and how this is playing culturally. And then if they think that they can get in on this in any particular way, it's such a big, juicy cultural issue that I can't see them staying out of it.
But, okay, let's just say if they do get involved because they're reading the tea leaves and the tea leaves are telling them that this could be an advantage for them, culturally, I don't know what that would be. Trump's not running for right now, constitutionally, he cannot run for re-election. So there's nothing for the culture to vote on. If he wants some sort of public favor, if he wants a pat on the back, some type of reward, or to further be able to say, see what I've done for Black people, then maybe. But politically, I just don't know what could be the advantage for him.
Well, I mean, the MAGA movement is a movement that has entrenched itself with a certain portion of Black Americans by saying that we will look out for you when the government has overstepped. There are people that believe, fair or unfair, or true or not, that the MAGA movement is a pro-criminal justice movement because of the First Step Act, because of Lil Wayne or Kodak Black or A$AP Rocky or whomever that it is. And there will be fertile ground on one side of this to say that, hey, Puff got railroaded or is getting railroaded, and we are going to step in some kind of way and make some kind of inroads, even if it's just something that they say, even if it's just something that is talked about, like, I hope he gets a fair trial, I hope this and this, even if it's just a way to weigh in and maybe split the cultural baby on it a little bit. I'll also say this. There's a lot of things that Trump, and we're going to get into Trump and his Meet the Press interview right now. There's a lot of things that Trump promised to do, right? And most of the things that he's promised to do for his constituency, he's delivered to the degree that it is substantive or not, right? He's delivered in saying, hey, I'm going to do this. I said I was going to do this. I said I was going to do this. I said I was going to do this. He's been as good as his word in terms of the mutated Project 2025 agenda that they've put out. Some of the stuff that he's not being effective in doing, but he said I was going to do this, and now I will do this. He said I would end birthright citizenship. Give an example. He can't end birthright citizenship because you need Congress, you need a constitutional amendment to do that. But he has, to him, delivered in doing so, right? Just for the pedantic people out there that go, he hasn't done everything that he said he was going to do. He's trying. There's one big thing that he said he was going to do that he's been sheepish and not done, and that is release in full, unredacted, the Jeffrey Epstein files. We know why he hasn't done that. There's going to be call logs about how much he's spoken to Jeffrey Epstein. People in his orbit have spoken to Jeffrey Epstein. There's probably going to be how many times he's been on the plane, how many times RFK Jr. has been on the plane, how many times all of these people have discussed all of this stuff. The reason why I bring that up is because Diddy is hip hop's Jeffrey Epstein. This is an issue that Trump doesn't have to be pure on. It's an issue that he's already taking flack for, and it's not really bothering him. So if there is anything to be gained out of like helping Diddy out, it's probably a bigger deal for him to do that than it would be for the dings that he would take for doing it. Because he's already not being consistent on the Epstein stuff, and it doesn't seem to be bothering his base. It doesn't seem to be bothering people
No, they don't care.
that he clearly has some type of connection to Jeffrey Epstein, or there are people in his orbit that clearly have some type of connection to Jeffrey Epstein that Donald Trump doesn't want the American people at large to know about, or else he would be as aggressive about that, because that is something that they can do pretty unilaterally, as he is about everything else. So in this situation, if I don't think that the criticism around helping Diddy out would be that big of a deal to him. But if it was able to make him a little bit more solid with any of that group of people that's like free Diddy, free Diddy, free Diddy, you might see Trump do something on it.
That's interesting. Yeah, they definitely don't care.
All right, speaking of Trump,
Hey!
he appeared on Meet the Press this weekend with Kristen Welker, and he spoke about several topics. I'll play some sound from the interview and then get you guys' reaction. The first is him talking about the economy, Biden's economy.
When does it become the Trump economy?
It partially is right now, and I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job. He did a terrible job on everything. From his auto pen, which I'm sure he knew nothing about some of the things he was supposedly signing.
But, sir, you acknowledge when you announced your tariffs, for example, the stock market dropped. It's been volatile. It has since gone up.
It is,
Do you take responsibility for that? Yeah. Do you take responsibility when it drops?
Ultimately, I take responsibility for everything, but I've only just been here for a little more than 3 months.
Second bit of sound. He speaks about his third term that isn't a real thing because of the Constitution, but is it?
The Trump Organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years.
He also spoke about the Constitution.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. Some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Is anyone in your administration right now in contact with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia to the United States?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the Attorney General that question.
So,
where to start, man?
all right, so this is the thing.
What was the most alarming thing to you?
None of it was really that alarming.
Okay.
We've talked about this on the podcast before. None of it was very alarming. The only thing that's alarming is, how can I put this? The only thing that's alarming, like, whiteness alarms me. I'm alarmed by whiteness.
What do you mean?
You know, Dave Chappelle has a routine, the Golden Age of Chappelle, where he talks about getting pulled over by these police officers, And he's pulled over by the police officers, and he's doing something. Maybe they were. It was always, it's a comedy setup, so maybe they were doing coke or doing something crazy or whatever, whatever. The cops pull him over, and Dave's all scared. And he looks at the cop. His wife friend looks at the cop and goes, "Officer, I didn't know I couldn't do that." And Dave is like, "That shit not gonna work." And then it works, right? Because there's this trust.
For sure. Grace.
Grace. There you go, better word. There's this grace that's involved when people think that you are inherently are good. When they think that you got shit under control, they'll survive some of your fuck ups. So I listened to Trump say he doesn't really know what the Constitution says. He's the president of the United States.
Right.
He doesn't really know what the Constitution says. He's not sure what the Supreme Court means. It's unclear which parts of the economy are Joe Biden's fault and are his fault, even though he's the president. I watch him weave his way through this murky lake of bullshit that allows him to take credit for anything that's perceived as a positive and avoid blame for anything that's obviously a negative. And at the same time, I watch the notion come out of his administration that whenever a black person or a woman, or God forbid, a black woman, is in a position of power, that they are incompetent and in that position of power because of cultural charity. So I watch the intellect and the expertise of people that are non-white men get shredded, whether or not they are educated, whether or not they are duly elected, whether or not they are fairly promoted. I watch that just get destroyed by an entire group of people that want to believe that the only way to get something done right is if a white man does it. And then I watch their example sit down and say, "I don't know, I'm not sure, you'd have to ask somebody else." Completely pass the buck on any responsibility for his own agenda. And then I'll watch people go, "Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. God doesn't know." Defend it. Supposedly, a very stable genius, as he describes himself, a business genius, a science genius, the most competent president ever, with the strongest, most direct agenda ever, who can't answer a fucking question and doesn't have to answer it. Doesn't have to answer it because the belief in the white male orthodoxy is religion. It's religion. Trump is a good businessman despite a litany of bankruptcies because he says he's a good businessman. Trump is honest. I was on CNN last week and we were having a great roundtable and someone says they appreciate Trump's honesty. He is one of the prolific liars in American cultural history. But he's honest because he's an asshole. If anybody else is an asshole, they hate it. If Obama is smug, they hate it. If Trump is an asshole, we like it when somebody is an asshole. That's real. I'm telling you, the MAGA movement is about more than just politics. The MAGA movement is about the religious connection that America has to the white male orthodoxy and whether or not a nation as diverse as what we are has the gumption to move past that and how vehemently they will fight to make us believe in it. I just watched incompetence sit down and have a conversation, avoid every question, avoid all accountability, and people are just going to be like, "Okay, that makes sense. Let's go fucking get them."
I agree with everything that you said.
I bet you do.
Well, do you? Because you try to label me a Trump lover. You label no, get that hand out of here. Get that hand out of here.
That's funny.
Trump lover?
No. The vagina.
Don't do it, please.
Vagina. It's funny. You like it.
Please don't do it. His accent is funny.
Yeah.
Wherever it came from. I agree with everything that you said. Maybe alarming is the wrong word, because as I watched it, for me, it was just all so telling. I agree with you. The trust, the grace that's given to white people that is not given to everybody else. I agree with you.
Particularly white men, straight white men.
I agree with you with the sentiment. No, white women, because we're going to get into that later in this episode too.
Ooh.
I agree. So it is whiteness. I agree with you when you talk about Trump being an asshole, because it's not that he's an asshole. He's honest, right? If Obama is smug, he is an asshole. He is the worst person. You have experienced that being a male public figure. I've experienced that being a Black woman public figure. There is no grace, understanding that's given to something that we say or do. And when a white counterpart does it, it's the same thing. Could go on. So too many tells when it comes to that. But it was telling to me, because the one thing I do believe about Trump is that when he is asked about the Constitution, when he is asked about due process, I truly believe he does not know. But I also believe, in addition to that, he does not care. He does not care to know. Twice, Donald Trump has stood in front of the American people with his hand on a Bible and has promised to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. But yet he doesn't know. That's the oath of the president. He doesn't know what the Constitution says, means when it comes to particular things, and how it governs this country. I believe that. And nor does he care to understand what the Constitution says, what it's supposed to mean, and how you're supposed to utilize it or abide by it in this country. He doesn't care. That is the telling part of it. And and I believe that this also is how he runs his business. He surrounds himself with people that he can either punt the responsibility to or blame things when they go bad on. When he talks about within this interview as well, which it really is, yes, the interview can be frustrating, but it's telling, and I think it's interesting to watch. When he talks about the Supreme Court's rulings and how his lawyers will follow the Supreme Court rulings, they literally are not following the Supreme Court rulings when it comes to Abrego Garcia, who is still in El Salvador. He's like, well, I'm going to go with what the U.S. attorney is doing. The attorney general is doing, and I'm going to follow what they do. He doesn't care about anything that has to do with abiding by the rules or in this particular case, the Constitution of this country. He is going to do whatever it is that he wants. So as I watched this interview, I wasn't alarmed, but I was like, once again, Donald Trump is telling you who he is and what he will and won't do and what matters to him.
So look, I don't know. Let me tell you something. I don't know. And let me tell you why. I'll be honest.
You don't know.
The point that you're making is very well stated. But I'm not sure, because they're using the Alien Enemies Act to be able to send these people out of the country without due process. So he's both using the Constitution, albeit a very old and flawed interpretation of the Constitution.
Right. Interpretation being the key word.
To send these people out of the country, to send these men and women out of the country without due process. He's using the Constitution to do it. And then he's got the legal community or the Justice Department that's saying, no, that is not an appropriate use of the Alien Enemies Act. The Alien Enemies Act is very directly referring to
wartime.
A wartime and a foreign nation invading. I was going back and forth with my foil Scott about whether or not that is the case. Judges say no. It is the judicial's branch to interpret the law. They do. literally telling judges, it's so interesting. So it's funny, right? It's really hilarious when you think about it. So somebody tells you that you have a cracked head gasket and your car is about to stop. You have a cracked head gasket. And then you go, who are you to tell me that my fucking head gasket is cracked? And they go, I'm a mechanic. So it's my job to look at your engine and then tell you what's wrong with it. You're one mechanic. You don't tell me when my engine is broken. Actually, I do. I'm a mechanic, and I went to mechanic school, and I learned all about the intricacies of engines, carburetors, about how to fix them, about how to tell that they're wrong. As a matter of fact, I didn't even need to look under the hood of your car to tell you that your head gasket is broken. I heard it. I knew your head gasket was broken when you pulled this raggedy motherfucker in here. I actually don't need to do all the work. I heard it. I've been doing this for a long time. I know head gaskets. Yours is cracked. New engine or new car, make a decision. That is what it's like for somebody to tell a judge that it's not their job to interpret the law. That's their job. They are the constitutional mechanics of this country. And you can't do it, obviously, because you're saying you don't know the Constitution. But maybe you do. Maybe you do because that's how you're trying to use it, bend it to your needs and ends. I'm not sure. I don't know if he has been explained this stuff and he's just lying because, once again, there is no penalty in America for white ignorance. Black ignorance is met with, nigga, you should have known 50 years. You should have known. Wait, you should have known 50 years. Black ignorance is met with choking you out, shooting you, pop, pop, pop. I bet the next one will know. Don't talk back. But if you didn't know you couldn't do that, it's fine. It's fine. No one cares. You be the president, you send a guy to a fucking gulag in El Salvador. So I really don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. There's a part of me that thinks he fucking knows that he can't send Garcia, that's illegal. If he doesn't know that he can't send him, he definitely knows he has to bring him back because the Supreme Court said that.
Well, he said, I have the power to bring him back. This is what I mean about, okay, let's say he does, he may not know or whatever you said, but he doesn't care. He has literally said, I could bring him back if I wanted to. And he's not. Because he doesn't care. Because an Abrego Garcia doesn't matter to him. He doesn't look at him as a human being. We definitely know he doesn't look at him on the same level as him, but he doesn't even see him as a human being. He's definitely not treating him like one. To him, he has no rights. Pretty much any illegal immigrant he treats like that. They don't matter to him. They're nothing to him.
Question. I've been getting some pushback lately from people who say that I shouldn't use the Black experience. I'm willing to listen to this, by the way.
The Black experience for what?
That it's wrong to use the Black experience. We haven't talked about Garcia very much on the podcast. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe we should have talked more about it. We've talked about the politicism of the issue and whether or not, going to El Salvador to get him back or, how the push-pull on it reflects itself in a larger discussion about immigration. But we haven't really had the human rights discussion about it. We haven't had
a little bit.
Yeah. We haven't, right? But when I talk about it, I often talk about it through the lens of, this is one of the issues that a lot of my homies from back in Louisiana and around are. It actually goes the furthest with them. The tariffs do too. Knowing that you might have a summer where your business suffers a little bit more, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs, and these people were very pro-Trump. They were very pro-Trump. They were pro-Trump because they thought that Trump was going to get the economy humming in a way that it hadn't been humming before, and that was going to manifest itself in better profits for them. more economic stability for them. And for some of these people to know that they are not going to be able to get the goods that they need, or that those goods are going to be more expensive, or that we might have a recession. A lot of them are like, wait a minute, what's happening? But the Garcia thing is interesting in and of itself, because there are a lot of brothers who I talk to who they believe in due process.
We had a whole conversation on this.
Well, I'm saying, but yeah,
and you talked about black men, and how I don't know what people. You literally did a whole thing about it.
So I'm saying is like, that's a reason why I sometimes go where I hear from a lot of black guys that they don't want to be pulled over and then have somebody go, fuck it, I can go through your car, which they feel like happens to them anyway.
Yeah.
Particularly when they don't know the law, or fuck it, I can do this, or fuck it, I could do that, or fuck it, I could do that. They want due process to work because they live in a place where they feel under the thumb of the police.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll bring that up when I'm talking about Garcia, and people will say, Van, you shouldn't use the pain of black people to advocate for democratic political talking points, or in that type of rhetoric. Using the Garcia thing is not a big deal. It doesn't matter to black people because he's not black. And so don't do that. Don't bring our pain into that discussion. I don't know. I don't think that I don't agree with the point, but I think that the point is, I think it's an interesting point.
Well, I don't know if I would call it interesting, but I can understand why somebody would say that, right? I can understand it. But my pushback to that would be, the bigger picture is due process. The bigger picture is, if they are able to skirt around due process and basically say, you don't matter, your rights don't matter, what is to stop them in a country who is constantly, to your point of using the black experience and the pain, a country who's constantly done that to you in various ways? What is to stop them from keeping that train rolling to then coming after you? And so you have to look at the bigger picture of, it is a constitutional right. It is there for a reason. We didn't always have it as black people.
Absolutely.
And so I get you, it's not apples to apples, but the issue of due process, period, is something that we should be talking about. And maybe we can talk about our experiences, even though they may be different without having due process and what that is. But my pushback would be, we have to recognize it, because it could get worse.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I look at something like that, I look at everything. To me, comes from the lens of my experiences as a black man in America.
Sure.
And so, as annoying as that can get for people, it just kind of is what it is. I was listening to A-Ball and MJG this morning.
What song?
Space Age Pimpin'. You ever heard that one? I'd be obliged if you step outside, because my ride is awaiting.
I have not.
You never heard that Space Age Pimpin'? But I just think about how awesome it is, how awesome it was to be a black kid 94, 95, when that Space Age Pimpin' was out, when that armed robbery was out. A-Ball and MJG, man, they don't get their props. I'm telling you, man, I keep trying to tell y'all, that Memphis shit don't get his props, man. That Memphis shit was to my core. Gino put that Memphis shit in our brains.
Is that your favorite 8-Ball in MJ?
Nah, it's armed robbery.
Okay.
On the way to Jamaica, scheming up on how to take a boat from a victim, run right up and stick him. I'm doing the ADHD thing. But look, the only reason why I say that is because, a lot of the things that are in my brain, I immediately go from, okay, this is happening, this is an injustice. Immediately I go to, how will this affect black people? So when I see someone being having their due process taken from them, I think, oh my God, we don't want to normalize this, and we don't want this normalized at the highest level, because this is something that makes our community directly vulnerable, or it doesn't make our community directly vulnerable. Our community is already directly vulnerable. It actually plays into some of the vulnerabilities when you're dealing with law enforcement. I think stop and frisk.
Mm-hmm.
I think old school vagrancy laws. Yeah. I think of all the ways that the legal system has been tinkered with and pulled apart to illegalize black. Anyway. Donnie, run the Glaze of the Week.
Glaze of the week, glaze of the week. You're on somebody's meat. It's the glaze of the week, glaze of the week, glaze of the week. You're sucking dick.
Now, let me tell you something.
The pop is
That was Donnie. Donnie had the pop. There's been a lot of talk about the Glaze of the Week theme song.
It's a hit.
But I got somebody on my side now.
Who?
Will.
Yeah, I heard Will has been walking around the house singing Glaze of the Week.
So we know, Rachel and I know this really talented actress. She deals coke on the side here in LA.
Stop doing that. Stop doing that.
No, she
you
doesn't.
really are in to try to ruin people's reputations.
But we know this really talented actress, really talented. Now, I'm not going to say her name that I've said that, but she's just a delight. And her brother is a big fan of the Glaze of the Week theme song. And that was enough for me.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the one.
Right, because I get a lot of pushback for my songs. You know, the songs, they pour out of me.
I have a segment that we are going to do. It just came to me.
Okay.
At the live show.
At the live show, we're going to do a segment.
At the live show, I think we should take suggestions from the audience, and on the spot,
I make up a song?
You just make up songs.
Okay.
I think on the spot, I think people would really, I'm not going to go too long with it, but just you take a couple of suggestions and you just go, because you've really labeled yourself as a genius in this category. You're one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to put it to the test. So you guys, you're attending the New York show. We're a week away, which is very exciting. Come ready with your topics.
Yeah. I'm with it.
Okay.
I'm not backing down.
All right.
So, Glaze of the Week this week is to white racists. And white racists don't love anything more than supporting and glazing other white racists. Darren Wilson is the cop that shot Mike Brown. He was able to get $225,000 for legal defense. Derek Chauvin is the cop that murdered George Floyd. Was able to get $200,000 for legal defense. George Zimmerman, the racial terrorist who killed Trayvon Martin, another $250,000 through GoFundMe and legal defense situations. All of these guys, some of these are GoFundMe, some of these guys are just legal defense things that have been set up. There is a new one on the block that has been financially glazed by all the other white racists. Her name is Shiloh Hendricks. Now, Shiloh Hendricks did something that all of us should be able to agree is terrible to do. She yelled the N-word at a Black autistic young man at a playground. It's caught on video. Shiloh Hendricks is a human piece of filth and excrement. This went viral, as it should, because we need to know the racial terrorists that exist in our midst. It went viral. And what happened? This Minnesota mom was able to raise $600,000. $600,000.
And counting. Still going.
And counting, going up. $600,000 for people that jumped in to help her because she's a piece of shit. $600,000. She, of course, was able to cry the crocodile tears. She said that she's been doxxed. She says that her family members are being attacked. She said that her eldest child might not be going back to school. All things, to me, that have been brought onto her by her extreme lack of humanity, by the extreme way in which she treated and tried to intimidate and scar a young Black person. But you know who doesn't care? The Glazers, the racists, the imbeciles. They made her rich.
They made her rich. And So are the platforms that are allowing this kind of stuff to happen.
Oh, look, glazing on their part.
And I really was thinking about this. First off, the only other thing I'll say about the Glazers is wear the glazing proud, okay? Because what Shiloh Hendrix did, this woman from Minnesota, when she did her post, and it's not on GoFundMe, it's on a
Give,
site.
Send, Go.
It's on a site, I'd never heard of. She's currently raised $667,823 and counting. When she made her post, she didn't just become a victim and cry her white tears and say all the things that has happened to her. She stood 10 toes down in it. She said, and I quote, "I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park, and I called the kid out for what he was." This is a woman who is not apologetic, and she didn't say it one time, she said it multiple times. She said, "That's what he is acting like, so that is what I'm going to call him." She stood in it. Proud, didn't cover her face up, and then asked for money. And you guys glazed her with over $500,000. But what I noticed on those posts is that a lot of it were anonymous donors. Why are you being anonymous? Shiloh isn't. Shiloh Hendrix is saying, "This is who I am, and I do it again because that's what he was acting like he was." Y'all should stop being anonymous. Somebody donated $10,000. Put your name on it. Be proud in what you did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sick of that. But the other part of it, what I was saying about the websites that are allowing this, you're perpetuating racism. And I know this isn't the first time that it has happened, as you pointed out, all the other times where hundreds of thousands of dollars have been given to people who have been found guilty of murder, who are racial terrorists. I don't know what can be done, but this woman is allowed to be able to ask for money because of sites like this. I don't know how it can legally, I don't have the answers, but something should be done where this should not be allowed to happen. Go to your own, if you want to go to your own social media page, your own personal page, and you want to ask for money, you want to put your Cash App on there, maybe that's a problem too. But GoFundMe shouldn't be allowed to do this.
Or Give, Send, Go.
Or Give, Send Me, or any of these others. You should not be allowed to crowdsource to continue to be racist. And that is a conversation we need to be having.
That's kind of a free speech thing, though.
It might be, but it should, that's like, it's take the free speech to your personal platform, right? I'm not saying Meta should be taken down. I'm not saying Twitter, but this, I don't know. And again, there might not even be a legal thing. I don't know what it is,
well, I mean,
I can't stop thinking about how she can do this on these sites.
What I'm saying in this case, that is actually an interesting argument, but I would probably be on the other side of it just because, and let me tell you why, just because that then gives this platform too much power to qualify what would be racist giving. Like if
it does, and they would be sued.
Right. Well, so what I'm saying is,
and they'd probably be represented by the.
In this situation, if I just don't see how that works. In this situation, if you're giving money to, I once did something on Kickstarter to where I was trying to see if I could get money from Kickstarter back in the day. And I was going to do a documentary called The Art of Ballin'. Mm-hmm. And what I was going to do is just have a bunch of people fund my Kickstarter. And then I was just going to do a documentary about me spending their money. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to see if Kickstarter would let me do it.
Did they?
No, they didn't. Okay. And if this was help me get rid of niggers, then I don't know if Give, Send, Go would allow this up here. If this was help me get rid of niggers, let's get rid of the niggers, they'd probably be like, nah, you can't do that. But if this is, I had this situation that happened, and we believe the situation to be racist, the situation is racist, and now I might lose my job or all of that stuff, that kind of is the whole purpose of the thing.
I get it.
Like if I wanted to give $100 to Carmelo Anthony's legal defense, I wouldn't want somebody to tell me I couldn't do it because it was too racially charged.
How does GoFundMe make money? GoFundMe, I'm sorry.
Whatever these places are, they make money by taking a portion of the proceeds for any of this stuff.
So like, when I see this, it makes me not want to contribute to to anybody's GoFundMe.
I agree.
Or give or what, this isn't GoFundMe. What
This
is
is
it?
Gifts and Go.
Gifts and Go. It makes me never want to do it.
And
because
maybe GoFundMe wouldn't allow them to do this.
I don't want you to ever be able to profit. I don't want to give money to your pockets if this stuff is allowed on your site.
I get it.
So and maybe that's the boycott, right? We're in the phase of boycotts. We're talking about certain things. I don't, and obviously there are people who truly need money, and I've given to sites like this before, but I just can't stop thinking about it. If it's a free speech issue, which your point is well made, and like I said, I don't know if there's any legal issue with this at all. It just bothers me so much when I see something like this. My thought is, nobody's telling you can't say it, right? You want to say it? Say it. Go to your social media and do it. But like there should be something in a discussion with sites like this where don't you feel bad? Don't you see how wrong it is for somebody to profit off of this through your site? You don't care.
So I'm looking at some of the people who have given. Adolf gave $10. Equality for White People gave $5. There are some names on here. David Helselstein is on there. Dean Erickson. Dean Erickson came in, that's ERICSON. He came in for twice. He gave 50 and then he was like, I got to double back and give 50 more. Whitey Win, Negroes Natter gave one. Nick Gurr, NICGER, gave some. Most of these are anonymous, though. Keep the momentum going. Anonymous giver, $100. No Niggers gave $50. Yeah. So Bill Clax is in there. Let's hit 1 million peeps. Just donated as well. So, I don't know. I keep getting told that racism is gone. There's no more racism, but it seemed to be pretty lucrative.
And I was about to say, and you could, not only can you be racist, you could profit off of being racist.
It seems to be pretty lucrative. That's a 1-to-1 right there. I saw something really interesting, and I was really interested in what you were going to think here. So, a lady named Jasmine EXETH posted something on the old Twitter sphere. Donnie, I'm going to read this one off, okay? Donnie, I want your opinion on this.
All right.
I want everybody's opinion on this. This is the tweet. There's a girl on IG that coaches people on how to be an effective squatter. $1,500 one-time payment, and she'll find you a house to squat in for at least a year with fake lease agreements. Then she says, I'm never becoming a landlord. I'd shoot one of y'all. We were able to find, or she posted, a screenshot of the account in question. Now, I can't find the actual account because it just says Squatters Homes, but then I can't see up there to the top left to actually see what the name of the account is. This is the stories. This is what it says on there. The houses are squatter houses. They are ready to move in with locks changed already. $1,500 comes with lease, BGE, and keys. The two outcomes with the house is that A, the landlord can pay you to move out. That's between $2,000 and $10,000. B, the landlord will say you can stay, but just pay him rent. Worst case scenario, they will take you to court for wrongful detainer and ask you to move out, but that takes 2 years plus. So either way, you get your $1,500 one-time payment worth. Also, BGE will stay on and the water, so the utilities will stay on. In Maryland, the landlord cannot cut the water off no matter the circumstances. This is best for my clients facing eviction who need somewhere to go fast, or my clients that need to get out of a sticky situation fast, or my clients that can't get approved for anything at all. So this is the situation. There's a lady, actually multiple people as I've done research, that identify squatters' homes. Homes to where you can go and move in and squat there, that have landlords that are either, or owners that are either in precarious situations, or homes that have just had the locks changed or whatever. But these are squatter homes, homes good for squatting. These people know the law. They know how long it's going to take you to get out of there. And they're telling you that these are good candidates for you to go be able to find housing so that you can get around approval for a house, or if you need somewhere to go fast, or if you just want to take advantage of the system and go squat in somebody's house.
I guess I don't understand. What I don't understand is, how does it come with a lease? And how is it legal to say I have a fake lease? Like, that's what the tweet says, fake lease agreements. It comes with find you a house to squat in at least for a year with fake lease agreements. Well, if you're altering a document, and it's not legal, like it's fake, I don't understand how you can do that. That's one. And then, because I always thought squatting was you find an empty house, you're in it. Because I don't remember if we talked about this on Higher Learning or not, but there was something like that in California where they couldn't kick the person out, but they had moved into the house, like they got in. They didn't have keys. That's what I'm also not understanding. This person's saying that they will give you a lease and keys. How?
Well,
I don't get that part.
Well, this person is probably on the inside of something. This might be like a realtor or somebody who knows
So then
housing.
there seems to be some sort of illegal nature of it, but keep going.
Okay. I've also seen other situations as I looked into this a little bit more. There are people that go and get Airbnbs.
That's what I've seen.
And then just stay.
Yes, that's what the case was in California.
Right.
And so, like, I understand how it's done if you've already been there and you're just holding over. And you've had access to it, but I don't get this. So like, it's really hard for me to have an opinion on this because I don't understand how you can have a fake lease agreement and that's upheld to be okay, unless you didn't know you had a fake lease agreement.
The squatters, once you're there, is the deal.
But then why are they saying they have fake? Then how does it come with a lease agreement?
I'm not so sure what the exact operation here is. Maybe these fake lease agreements are for you to throw in the face of law enforcement, or maybe there's somebody that owns so many homes that they don't really know if it's like a big conglomerate or something like that. Maybe the lease agreement like keeps them off your back for a little bit. Somebody comes there and they go, well, who are you? And then you give them a fake lease agreement, and that fake lease agreement like keeps you in there for a little bit longer. Maybe this isn't somebody that owns a single home, or this isn't a single unit. These are apartment units or whatever, and you need all of this stuff. This could be somebody that works for that apartment unit place. This could be somebody that knows all of this different stuff. I don't know. I wasn't able to contact this person. I want to have this person on and interview them. We are willing to do the interview through the cloud of anonymity. The cloud of anonymity. We're willing to do this interview, okay? Here's the thing, though. This is what I found interesting.
Quick research shows a fake lease agreement is illegal, so I don't understand, but keep going.
Okay. I don't know. I think that you're really getting into the legality of this. I think once you're in a place, it's probably illegal to stay there and not leave, but there's also another whole set of laws that protect the rights of tenants.
Correct.
Over getting kicked out of a place. Okay. So this is the deal. Let's take this out of the legal area and let's have a philosophical discussion about this. And I want everybody here to participate. That's Ashleigh and that's Donnie. Okay. When I looked at the comments under this post, it was very interesting. People were mad at this lady.
Which one?
The lady that's teaching people how to squat.
Okay.
People were like, fuck her. This sucks. This is terrible. Teaching people how to squat and take property and evade the law. There's a lot of black people going, oh man, I would shoot one of y'all, blah, 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 all that stuff like that. And when I say, she's a black lady, so she had a lot of black followers and everybody's, and I was like, that's very interesting. Then this started to go viral a little bit. And as more people started to get an understanding of what was actually being said, there were people that were on this other side of it that came in and said housing is a basic human right and that landlords are jacking up rents all over the country from sea to shining sea. There's a housing shortage. That housing shortage, it creates this huge demand. That demand means that people come in and they raise prices through the roof, and that contributes to homelessness and income instability for people who are paying all their money for rent and all of that stuff. And that the squatters movement, which I then went and did research on, the squatters movement is actually a pro-people movement of people that are seeking to injure landlords and big conglomerates and the Zillows and all of the people who have taken control of American housing and are pricing people out of what they believe to be a basic human right. There are definitely some of these squatters, maybe not this lady.
This lady ain't, she's profiting
She's
off
profiting,
of it.
but there are definitely some people out there that are trying to put a dent in what they see as being something that's unfair.
Yeah, apparently it's a worldwide movement.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't agree with what this lady is doing. It's illegal. It feels illegal. I mean,
you would know better than I would.
I mean, I don't do landlord-tenant law, but
Right.
I'm just saying to create a fake document is illegal. It's fraudulent. To have keys that don't belong to you and however she accesses them, that's wrong. What she's doing is against the movement I feel like that you're talking about. If the squatters movement exists, or it does exist to bring awareness, it's a political movement, it feels like, to bring awareness to, inequity in the housing market. I'm for bringing awareness to that because as we talked about what happened in the city of Los Angeles, how landlords were taking advantage of the LA fire victims. Like, rent is ridiculous. And while I do believe I understand being a landlord, which is why I'm against what this lady is doing on social media, teaching people, creating fake leases and, teaching people how to squat in that way, I do think that it is out of control. And so I think that there needs to be some sort of awareness to it. But this right here is not the way. It actually goes against the people who are, doing it. It's almost like a sit-in.
Yeah.
The squatters movement feels like a sit-in. They're not really trying to live there because,
some of them are trying to live there.
All right, well, maybe they are.
The one dude that I watched that he had stayed in the Airbnb, and he just stayed in there after the time was up. He goes, I don't have anywhere to go. Like, I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anywhere to put
And
this
that's ridiculous. Housing should be a basic right.
Times are tough. So this is the deal. I know a lot of people that have like rental units and stuff like that. I kind of don't care about what happens to
That's fucked up. No, that's not true. If you had rental property, you would in no way feel that way. Because for some people that
I wish I did care, but like.
Well, what if they're doing it by the market, right? Like, what if they're not hiking up the prices?
Yeah.
Because that is a career for some people, right? They invest, they buy, they rent to people. They're doing it by the book, and that's the business. Like, they have a real estate investment business, and they're one of the good ones. Like, if it's one of the people taking advantage of it, sure. As we called out those companies and those people's names on this very podcast, but to root against them, like if I ever rented out my house, like please don't root for squatters to come in. Like, don't do that.
There's just something, and once again, I know
because you're not doing it.
Good people that are doing it, I get, but it's just something so interesting about controlling where somebody lives.
How is it controlling? How is it if you own a property and the market rent is $2,500 a month and that is what you charge? How is that controlling?
I mean, I've been in it before and got out of it. Or not, I haven't done it myself, but it doesn't, I don't know. It's
It's almost like you're against ownership because there's got to be some sort of comparison in another thing something you do own.
Okay.
There's got to be some sort of comparison. You own something and you think that's okay.
This is a problem that I have. This is a problem that I have. Like, so back in the TMZ days, like Andy comes up to me and he goes, hey, we want to make you a manager. I think you'd be a good manager. This was way before they knew that that's a horrible idea, right? But it's like, hey, people like Van, whatever would make Van a manager. I don't want to be in control of when somebody can go see their mama. I just don't want to have to make that decision. I don't want to be the person that says, hey, you guys keep saying, Van, you need an assistant. I don't want to tell somebody. I literally don't. I don't want to, I get it. I don't want to tell someone, hey, you got to do this, or you have to do that. I know that that's a part of it, and that's a part of the way that the country works. But me telling some person after they didn't work as many hours as they had worked at TMZ that they can't go on vacation, it's just, I'm never going to be in that. I don't want to be
So
in that
you're never
position.
going to be a director?
No. That's different though. The reason why I look at that as being different though is because having been on set and stuff like that, like it's such a creative endeavor. A director is a job, and a job that you are in charge of that job, right? But that's a creative endeavor where we all come together, we do something, and then we move on.
Being a director is managing. When we had Autumn here and you asked her the question of being a director, and she was like, there's so many things that Ryan has to do and oversee. It's managing.
I know, but
it's a form of management.
I don't disagree, but I think that it's because it's a part of a creative endeavor.
You see it differently.
I see it differently because also those jobs don't last forever. And when you are dealing with people that are coming together to make something for 3 months or for 4 months or for whatever, like it's kind of a different thing. There obviously needs to be a hierarchy there so that a vision is created. But like, I would never have a problem like having an apprentice if I'm writing and having an apprentice, someone that's learning from me, and then that person leaves and goes on and then achieves something else from the time that they've learned from me or whatever, or that's different. That to me felt different than someone that was in a spot at TMZ and they was working every single day all year, and they're trying to pull the humanity out of also having a job.
Okay, but that's not every manager position. I just want you to be clear, as directors manage.
It's different.
Okay.
To me, it's different. I get what you're saying, but to me, it's different. It's like, that's a different thing than trying to pull your personhood out of a corporate endeavor.
That's TMZ. That's not all management.
It's not all management, but if you're working at a place where, if you're going to a job every day, and look, everyone has to go to a job every day. Everyone has to go to a job every day. I'm not saying that people shouldn't have a job. I have no problem. We have jobs. Everybody has to go to a job every day. It's the way we've oriented society. But what I'm saying is, essentially, the tension that I see in those jobs is someone trying to be as much of a person as they can be, while the job is actually trying to make them as much of a worker be. I don't want to be in charge of your personhood. I don't want to be the person that you have to come ask to have a good time. I don't want to be the person that says that you have to ask, hey, can I leave a little bit early and go to my kid's Little League game? Or, hey, could I do this? Or, hey, could I do that? Or, hey, I don't want to be that person.
And I understand that. But even if you're in a creative space, I don't think you can separate the two. I gotta be honest.
I see it as different, right?
I get it.
I see it as different. I see it as you're a gaffer or a rig or a lighter or something like that. You are, first of all, very excited to get this job to where you go for 3 months and you work on this thing. And then you come back and you're with your family. I do not see it as being the same thing. I could see it how somebody could see it as being the same thing. I do not see it as being the same thing at all. But having said all of that, in this situation with the landlords, right? Or however it goes, it's interesting. Like, I tend, and I don't have to have a huge opinion on this, but if I'm looking at it, I think I'm with the squatters. I think I'm with the squatters. I think I'm with people that are saying, why should I have to pay for a place to live? Like, why? I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I think I'm with the people that say
eating is a basic necessity too. Why should I have to pay for food?
You should.
You should just take it.
No, it shouldn't. You shouldn't just take it.
Well,
it should be there for you.
They're just taking. Well, but you agree with the squatters, right?
Right.
So housing is like, everybody should be entitled to have some sort of roof over their head,
right?
With working electricity and running water and all of that,
right?
Squatters are just taking it,
right? So to me, if you're hungry and you walk into a place and you just take the food, I don't have a problem with it.
Listen,
But
this
I-
is
so
because
look-
these things do not personally impact you. I agree with the movement in the sense of bringing awareness to housing inequalities. I'm not about taking advantage of people for profit. I'm just not. So I get that. This, no. But I am willing to have a conversation with this girl because I'm trying to understand what she's doing. I don't believe she's making any kind of profit.
But once again, though, when you say, and obviously she seems to be sort of
She's
predatory
full of
in the
shit.
way
She's
that
taking
she
your
does.
money and
But look,
you.
I want to talk to her.
She's taking. Let me tell you what she does. She's taking your money and she's saying, "Fend for you're on your own."
Oh, well, she's letting you know.
And she's on the run.
Look, but if we get into the, so let me say something.
Also, we keep saying she. Could be a man.
Could be a man. Well, we saying she because Jasmine said there's a girl.
Oh, okay.
On why you bring the gender wars into things. Jasmine said that there's a girl that does it. So this is the reason why we're saying she. First of all, I want to go back to something real quick. And it's like, there's two things. Number one, I think sometimes I tend to look at things not as they are, but as I would want them to be.
That's fair.
And so
You do.
This doesn't personally affect me. Cause like, I know people with rental properties and all that stuff like that. But I also think that that's kind of a cop-out.
On your end?
No, because I think that if you endeavor into being a landlord or a person that controls things that are basic to people, you should have to deal with the perception that comes along with that. Like if you are that, we have landlords. If you're gonna be the person that tells somebody they can't go home to see their mama, well then fuck it, that's me. If you're gonna be the person that tells somebody, hey,
that the rent is due,
that their rent is due, that their rent is
I ain't
due.
doing street. Ashleigh and
Donnie,
Donnie.
what do y'all think?
I think the lady that posted this is honestly putting people at risk of getting shot. If you're looking at the comments, there's enough comments that are like saying that I would shoot this person if I was a landlord. So if she's being honest, I mean, she needs to add that as one of the outcomes that could happen. Like you could face bodily harm.
Some will die.
Some will die. Some will die is very important. But think about that though. Think about the fact that you're willing, that capitalism has these people in the comments in such a chokehold, that they will be willing to kill a human being before they will house them.
We're talking about America. This is the most American thing ever. You're talking about gun violence, capitalism.
I get it, but think about that, especially, and I'm looking at these people, and these are black people. These are black people that are saying that they would be so enraged by this that they would kill someone. I mean, that's an interesting thing. That's why I thought this was an interesting conversation. By the way, that like everybody in here is like, either you're on the side of the landlords or you're on the side of the people that are breaking the law and staying on the landlord's property. I get it. I am not in any way ever saying that I haven't been like, hey, get off our property. I have been. I definitely have been. We had property back there and it was some skinheads that lived. We've talked about this before. And you would see people, or I've never been like, hey, this space is mine. Or I've never been like, I'm as American as anyone else. We just talked about me flying on the jet and how I like to fly on the jet.
Some people don't even know the term lie flat.
There's no purity here. But what I'm saying is this, because if I would have paid for the lie flat seat and they would have been like, hey, you got to go to Comfort Plus, I would be super fucking mad. I'm acknowledging the hypocrisy. But when I think about people taking advantage of people that own a bunch of homes or a bunch of apartment buildings or a bunch of rental houses that are kind of like, I don't know why I side with the squatters. I don't know why I reflexively side with them.
Because this doesn't impact you and you want to be with the people. You want to be like.
How would it impact me though? You keep saying it doesn't impact
because
me.
You don't own property that you rent. You don't own rental property.
Right.
And you would feel different.
Well,
I've been
involved in that before, and it kind of made me uncomfortable.
Well, that's fine, and that's why you don't own it. But if you did own rental property, and this is how you provided for yourself or for your family, you would feel different.
By controlling where somebody else lives.
That's how you love the word control. Why don't you look at it as I'm giving them an opportunity?
to pay me to live.
To pay market value and not go move across the street where they're jacking up the prices $1,000 extra.
Ethical
I'm a
landlording.
good, because you have slumlords, right?
That's true. You're
I'm
right.
a good landlord.
People think I'm being funny, but you're talking about, basically, this is the conversation. Anything that's done ethically, you can do stuff ethically. You can be an ethical landlord. You can be an ethical, even things that other people look at, you can be an ethical pornographer. Can you be an ethical police?
I hope so.
I'm asking.
I would hope that you could be an ethical police person.
Yeah. It's interesting. Ashleigh, we haven't heard from you. What do you think?
I don't know. I've been thinking about this for a bit now because I don't like the idea of someone stealing, but I also hate the idea of slumlords and landowners and stuff like that. So, but like Rachel's right. It's just like, this is like a lot of risk. Is this person who's telling people about how to do this also taking this kind of risk? Or are they just instructing people? It always feels like, I don't know. This is just, it's too complicated. Maybe I'm too young. I don't know.
This is, God damn it, Ash. This is, I can agree with you guys that the lady that made this is, because this was only my entrance into this. The lady that made this she's trying to come up, right? She's a landlord of a different sort. And I hope we get the opportunity to talk to her. She's a landlord of a different sort, right? She's on a come up, $1,500. She's a landlord of a different sort. However, once I got more into the movement of the squatters, I was like, and everybody's going to say it would be different, Van, if somebody came and squatted in your home, which happens to people, right? I've seen guys who are reverse squatters, who landlords pay them to go squat in the house of a squatter, and then the squatter actually calls the cops on the person that's in their home when they're squatting. It's funny. But I think the issue is so core and central. We're talking about food and a place to live and all of that stuff. I don't know, man. I don't have it thought out, but like.
No, you don't.
I don't have it thought out, but just thinking about.
You want to be down with the people. I get it.
Inconveniencing somebody that controls where you live. These are the people that can cut your lights off and cut your water off.
We're going in circles. Right. We gotta go.
I apologize.
But if we can't get her, somebody
from the squatter movement, I want to talk about
this. From the movement.
I'm interested in this.
Yeah. Let's get them on.
Yeah, my bad. I'm not trying to advocate for people.
Because they might feel different. They might say, we're doing this for this purpose. You might be impacting the movement in a negative way, the way you're interpreting it. Let's bring somebody on.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested in it. I'm interested in the whole squatting, higher learning deep dive into squatting. All right. And what is ethical squatting and what is ethical landlording?
Matter of fact, somebody come to the live show that's a squatter. Come squat the live show. You don't have a ticket. It's sold out.
I wouldn't give a fuck.
Come squat in the show. Some squat in the show so we can have this conversation.
Come into the show. Y'all come into the show. I don't give a fuck. All right? All right, take your thinking caps off, but do not stop learning. I'm Van Lathan Jr.
I'm Rachel and Lindsay. Bye, guys.